So do you see the presentation properly? Okay, good. So hello everyone and welcome to this information day for AI Factory Antennas call. My name is Lee Daxner. I am a program manager at the infrastructure group at EuroHPC Joint Undertaking. And I will present the call today. Then I will go through the questions that you have already raised with us that we have answered, but there are still some things to clarify. We have also invited to this workshop our colleagues from the European Commission that will help us to clarify these questions as well. And then I will hand over the floor to my colleague, Dora Martin, who is also the program officer in the infrastructure team, and she will explain you the procedure, the technicalities with the call. And finally, at the end, we'll just open the floor for you to raise your hands and ask even more questions so that we can clarify all the points that are bothering you or are of interest for you. And with that, I think I will start. So, no, it's not. Yeah. So the call was open actually on our EuroHPC Joint Undertaking website on 9th of April, but it was published in the portal 22nd of May, from which date it was open for you to send your applications. The deadline for this call is 9th of July at 5 o'clock Central European Summer Time. And until then, you are welcome to send your applications for this call. The aim of the call is to provide national ecosystems of the participating state of EuroHPC Joint Undertaking with relevant support services, algorithmic support, training activities, and access to talent. Basically, these are the 4 points that your application should answer when you're applying for antenna. The AI Factory antenna will also have to ensure access to the supercomputing resources from an established AI factory. And as an optional attribute to this call, you are welcome to also dedicate part of the budget for a small scale AI compute resource to buy for your own antenna. The eligibility for you to apply are the following. First, the applying country should be a participating state that has not yet been selected to host an AI factory or is a partner at AI factory. So if you are a partner in the current AI factory, you cannot apply for this call. The proposal must include a pre-agreed association with an established AI factory. These are the 2 points that needs to be satisfied in order to be valid to apply for the call. The current call is open to either a single entity or a consortium, but make a note that the consortium members can be only from the same EuroHPC participating states. You cannot build a consortium from partners from different countries. Entities established in countries with which association to Horizon Europe negotiations are being finalized and are pending ratification, and which have committed to join the EuroHPC Joint Undertaking in the year when the call is launched, that is 2025, are eligible to participate. If you go to the call text, there is more information on this, and you need to make a note as well that the grant agreement for the call can be signed only when this is finalized. So if this condition is not satisfied, you won't be able to apply for the antenna. The budget and documents. The total indicative budget for the AI Factory antenna call is up to 70 million euros. The maximum amount of the EU contribution to it is up to 50% of the total eligible cost. That may be allocated to an AI Factory antenna is up to 5 million. So up to, doesn't have to be 5 million, and is subject to EU budget availability. Applicants must provide a letter or letters of support, depending on how many AI factory you would like to be an antenna to, for the commitment of the participating state to the AI factory antenna proposal and the commitment of this participating state to cover the expenses of the proposal not covered by EU contribution. Applicants representing an AI factory antenna must provide a letter of intent co-signed with a consortium leader of an established AI factory agreeing to their association, setting out how it will be linked with this established AI factory. The letter of intent should also include an annex providing a short overview of the main association conditions agreed between the representative parties and should include the financial contribution of such an association. So you should already indicate how you are going to collaborate with the AI Fantana also in the budgetary terms. The legal entity identification form duly completed and signed by the person authorized should be included. And if applied as consortium, then the consortium members will submit a signed declaration based on the model. Can you mute, please? Thank you. If applied as consortium, then the consortium members will submit a signed declaration based on the model consortium agreement, power of attorney, appointing a consortium leader and giving a mandate to him. Each applicant in the AI Factory Antenna Consortium must fill in and provide the duly signed declaration of owner. And then finally, the seventh document that you need to include is the application form Part B. Application form Part B, how to fill in. So a description of the national AI ecosystems and their AI factory antennas, that their aims and that they target needs to be described. There should be a description of the features the AI factory antennas will have in terms of activities and services offering. A description of how AI factory antenna will cooperate and synergies with the established AI factory will be linked with, extending, enhancing, complementing the services and activities it provides currently or in the future. And then finally, implementation plan and impact are extremely important, including budget, KPIs, grants, etc. Last one is the quality insurance, and this should include risks and mitigations clearly listed as a table and as an explanation. So for the description of the national AI ecosystems, their AI factory and antennas aim to target, there should be an overall vision and a roadmap to reach it. Clearly list, you need to clearly list the individual, the industrial sectors as well as the applications you will be supporting. Reason why these sectors applications are being supported, what are the obstacles currently and how you will be solving this. Describe the whole chain from start to the inference, how all the support and use of AI antenna will be done, including cloud solutions, both external and internal. A clear plan on how these sectors will be attracted and estimation of the success. Describe clearly the link to the national AI strategy, national data and access policy, as well as compute resources access policy. And finally, clearly outline an indicative financial contribution plan specifying how the AI factory antenna will support the established AI factory in terms of, for example, in-kind or cash contribution, for example, participation in the capital expenditure CapEx or operational expenditure OpEx of the AI optimized supercomputer of the established AI factory. For access to the AI optimized supercomputer resources and to any of the respective services of the established AI factory. For this last point, we have also a question raised, and we'll get back to it with further clarification on this. So for the description of the features the AI factory antennas will have in terms of activities and services offering, you need to clearly list provide a clear list of user services, for example, HPC support, training, fine-tuning of AI models, inference, and so on, as well as option of the resources required to support established AI factory in providing a well-functioning user support. Please note that here you need to make sure that your primary access possibility are the JU open calls for AI applications. And for this, you can refer to our website for more information. Then you need to give a description of computing, software, and application development environments. a description of data facilities, access to data, confidentiality and integrity of data, available data repositories, access agreements you have or you will be establishing, trustworthy AI. So you need to describe your plans the applicants have to developing of robust guidelines and standards for AI. And then list and description of facilities where applicable, of course, including co-working spaces, training facilities, AI student hosting facilities, access to human capital, and so on. So you need to make really a clear picture of every possibility and all the facilities you have in your country that will be provided by AI Antenna. A factory antenna cooperated, AI factory antenna cooperate and synergize with the established AI factory and further networking. What does that mean? You need to give a detailed plan for networking the AI factory antenna with existing European and national initiatives and with other EuroHPC AI factories and AI factory antennas. For example, you need to describe how you collaborate with NCCs, EDIs, alt-EDICs, and so on. You need to give a detailed plan of activities and budget of collaborations with AI factories, as was also mentioned previously. And the last point is actually part of the first point. So you need to make sure that you specify all the collaborations you have and you will establish in your antenna. So now about questions and answers part we receive. Please note that we publish all our answers publicly. You have the link above, but you should also already know that this link is given on through the funding and tenders portal, but the document is published on our EuroHPC website under the antenna call. And there you can find all the answers. So one of the questions is, would it be possible to confirm that the proposal with an association with more than one AI factory will be admissible under the conditions of the AI factory antenna call? And as I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, we have invited our colleagues from Commission, and I saw that Juan Pellegrin, head of HPC, has joined us. So I will be asking him to give a bit more clarifications for each question that still requires some addition. So in our answer, in the PDF published, we wrote, in justified cases, an AI antenna can be connected to 2 AI factories. However, this should not impact the operations of the antenna and add any unnecessary degree of complexity or misunderstanding for users. Both linked factories should agree to this with supporting documentation. And I would like to ask Juan if you can clarify further this answer. Thank you. Juan?
Hello, good morning. Javier Córdoba speaking. Juan is just connecting. In the meanwhile, I will jump in on his behalf, on behalf of the Commission. So the main point here is really to ensure that this condition does not in any way worsen has a negative impact on the service offered. So this means on the side of the user, no additional complexity or administrative burden should be established because of this double association. And also in the provision of the services. It's also very important to remark here that in this case, the letter of agreement should be provided for the 2 linked AI factories, either combined or bilaterally. And we would put a maximum of 2 associated connected established AI factories. We consider this an exception, so it should be very properly justified, building the business case and the use case why this is deemed as the optimal solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. Now I see that there are a lot of, in the chat, a lot of people that didn't catch up the first part of the presentation. We are recording the event, so you would be able to see, but to foster the discussion at the end, maybe I can just quickly summarize what I said. So I'm just going back in my slides. So just gave the data that the call was open, and it was open actually from 9th of April, but you had the possibility to submit from 22nd of May your applications, and it's closing 9th of July at 5 o'clock Central European Time. There are 4 things that you need to make sure you answer in your application, because that's the 4 aims of the AI Factory to exist: is the support services, algorithmic services, training activities, access to talent. And the AI Factory will also have to ensure the supercomputing resources from an established AI factory. You can also apply to buy some small-scale AI compute to put locally, and that's an optional. So that is not going to influence your evaluation. The proposal must fulfill the following 2 conditions. The participating state has not yet been selected as an AI factory or not in the consortium of AI factory. And the proposal must include a pre-agreed association with the established AI factory. Your partners can be only from your own country. You cannot have a consortium to apply from different countries. And the entities established in these countries with association to Horizon Europe can apply. However, the negotiations should be being finalized or pending ratification, and which have committed to join the Euro-HPC joint undertaking in the year, that's 2025, are eligible to participate. Then I went through all the budget is 70 million, and of course the EU contribution is 50% maximum. And an AI factory can be allocated 5 million, up to 5 million euros, and the budget it's a subject to budget availability. I went through all the points in the application that needs to be satisfied. So you need to send 7 papers basically from the. Juan, I would like to ask you to mute. So the application form, of course, the part B, if we start from beneath, and then you need to, each applicant in AI Factory Antenna Consortium must fulfill and prove a declaration of honor. You need to have, if you have a consortium, then there should be a signed declaration on the model consortium agreement power of attorney to appoint as the certain person as a consortium leader. The legal entity identification forms should be submitted, and a letter of intent should be also included as an annex, providing an overview of the main association conditions agreed between the respective parties, and should include the financial conditions. Yeah, I think the rest is, I won't be able to go again through every point, but as I said, it is recorded, so you can take a look. And then we went through the application form part B. There are in principle 5 things that needs to be included in the form. That's and then I detailed each of them separately. So for the first one, you need to have the vision, you need to have an aim and roadmap. Then you need to clearly list the industrial sectors and applications and the reason why you are supporting this. A clear plan on how these sectors will be attracted and estimation of success. The national AI strategy, national data and access policy should be clarified. And then finally, the last point is that clearly outline an indicative financial contribution plan specifying how the AI Factory Antenna will support the established AI factory. And in our call, it states an example in-kind or cash contribution, for example, participation in the capital expenditure, CapEx, or operational expenditure, OpEx, of the AI optimized supercomputer of the established AI factory. And this point we will clarify again in the question and answers. Then we have the second point where you need to list all the user services you will be providing, description of computing, software, application development environments, data facilities, access data, confidentiality, integrity of data, and then you need to make sure that you clarify the trustworthy AI description of the plans the applicants have for developing robust guidelines and standards for AI. You need to list and describe the facilities where applicable, including co-working spaces, training facilities, AI student hosting facilities, and your human capital. Then the last point is that you need to have detailed plans for networking with AI factory antennas and also with other AI factory antennas and other AI factories, but also networking with TEFs, NCCs, EDIs, Alt-EDIC, and similar initiatives. And then you need to detail the plan of activities and the budget in these collaborations. So then we're back to where I interrupted the presentation. And as I said from the beginning, we will open the floor for questions afterwards. So we will first follow the plan where I will finish my presentation and we'll ask input from our colleagues from European Commission. And finally, my colleague Dora will tell you more about the application procedure. After that, we'll open the floor for you to ask questions, raise your hands and ask questions. So then we go to the second question. Is there a mechanism for an association between AI factories, like the association between an AI factory antenna and AI factories? And the answer we published publicly, and you have the link here to the document, is that the idea is that AI factory and AI factory antenna establish a cooperative framework, primarily on the compute infrastructure aspects. However, should an AI factory antenna also profit from the support offered by an AI factory, this could be also factored in. But it is rather for both the AI factory and AI factory antenna to agree on the terms of their cooperation. I would like to ask our colleagues from Commission, would you like to add to this a comment, a clarification? Question 2.
So yeah, we are in line with the publicly offered proposed answer. What we would like to emphasize here is that the AI factory antenna, of course, if there is an agreement for that, can benefit from the core services already offered by the established AI factory. If that is the case, those core services should not be duplicated by the antenna. However, the national, locally oriented set of services should be a layer developed on top. So whether or not these AI factory core services are offered by the established AI factory or the antenna should be part of this bilateral agreement.
Thank you very much, Javier. Then we go to the third question. If in-kind contribution from our side is 5 million, then we can request 5 million matching funding. Is that correct? And our answer is, please note that according to Article 238 of Regulation 2024-2005-09 on the financial rules applicable to the general budget of the Union, in-kind contribution means non-financial resources made available free of charge by third parties to a beneficiary. And I wonder if there is further clarification either from Commission or my colleagues from the legal department to this. So basically, it's your third parties that can contribute in kind to the collaboration. No? Then
Yes,
we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, it's just like you probably take a look at, because what you do, Lilith, it was a summary of the reply. No? So the reply which we published is by far more detailed and explains also the conditions under which, and of course it's matched, because that was the core part of it. Yes, it's matched. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, indeed. As I mentioned, also the complete answers are in the PDF in our website under the call. You can go to that either through funding and funding portal or through our website. And here I summarize only, I give only summaries of the answers, and then I ask my colleagues to clarify. The fourth question, is the submission of the proposal electronically or in paper? The submission of the proposal for AI antennas is done exclusively electronically via the funding and tender portal. So let's go further. Is it justified for the antenna to contribute to the operating cost, that is energy, of the partner factory supercomputer in portion to the use of the resource? Is this cost or part of it eligible for the AI Factory antenna project, either as part of the grant or as part of the national co-financing? Can AI Factory antenna cash contribute to CAPEX or OPEX for access to use from the AI Factory system? And if yes, is there an amount limit? This question I also touched base before in my presentation, and I ask my colleagues from Commission to clarify.
Okay, good morning to everybody. I'm Juan. I'm here in the Commission working on HPC and AI Factory, etc. The idea here of the concept of the AI Factory and the AI antenna is that, to a certain extent, this collaboration is established with a hosting AI factory. Ideally, this is a cooperation agreement with an AI factory, and in principle, we would prefer that the access to some of the compute is provided on a free-based basis in the context of this collaboration. However, we are happy, or we can exceptionally accept that some very marginal and small amounts of funds can be channeled to the AI factory to contribute to this access to compute approach. In this context, just to be very clear, the national part of the co-funding line can be used to a very, very small amount, well justified. Just to be very clear, however, the EU will not co-fund it. So if country A wants to use part of his 5 million to contribute to this, that is fine. But the EU money cannot co-fund this because we have already contributed to the setting up of the factory to the compute from our side. So we cannot do it because that would be double funding. So basically, the answer is, ideally, in the context of the collaboration, this is provided already in the association agreement. If necessary, and in well-justified cases, yes, some cash or whatever you want to name it in kind, some contributions can be enabled, channeled to the hosting AI factory. But this should be justified, small, commensurate, etc. Okay, just to be very clear. If we see something that goes off the roof, this will be spotted by the evaluators, and we will call you just to make sure that this element is not abused. Okay, the idea here is really to develop the money that we are providing is largely to provide the services to support your national ecosystem. Okay, that's basically the idea. Just to be absolutely clear. Okay. So the answer is basically yes, with caveats. Okay.
Thank you very much, Juan. So again, to summarize, the primary access are our calls, and if there is a need, that should be justified, paid from your national 50%, and it should be a very, very small amount. Otherwise, the costs will not be accepted. Okay.
So that's I'm just responding, Lilith. Sorry for interrupting. I've seen the email from Matis. That's an option indeed. So if there is some countries that prefer to allocate other funding, internal funding, national funding to contribute to this, that would be ideal. Just to be very clear. Okay. So that both elements of the funding are not affected. That would be the ideal approach. Okay.
Thank you very much, Juan. Just for your information as well, we will then open the floor for questions after Dora's presentation. And then let's go further to the second question. If we want to join the AI Factory, which formally already started, will it mean that our antenna can only last, for example, 2 years and several months? Our answer summary is, as set out in the section specific conditions, the duration of the contribution to the antennas could be up to 3 years, but in any case should be aligned with the duration of the established AI Factory. And I would like Juan, you also, or Javier, to clarify this as well.
So again, this is indeed open in the call text. So the idea is for the factory, of course, to be aligned with the duration of the established AI factory, but also we offer the possibility to set up the antenna for 3 years, regardless of the duration of the grant for the AI factory. That is in views of the intention we have to likely extend the AI factory concept beyond the current call, beyond the current grants. So this is, of course, a continued effort. And in that context, the AI factory antenna proposals should come up with the proposal which is sound for the national ecosystem, taking into account all this context.
Okay, thank you. So if I summarize, if an antenna wants to apply for 3 years, they can, if it is properly justified in accordance to their national needs and support for AI. Okay, thank you.
May I just come in just to clarify? If ideally should be for 3 years, that would be the idea, so that the full development of services can be enabled at the antenna level. If countries decide to come at a lower number of years, then the budget should be also commensurate to that. So it should be reduced, just to be very clear. We will not pay 5 million for 2 years. That would be my comment. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So by default, antennas are invited to apply for 3 years if they apply for 5 million. And then it's up to them to decide. But then if they apply for less than 3 years, they will get, they need to apply for less budget. Thank you. Third question is, we have just registered our proposal on the funding and tender portal, and under the menu where partners can be added, a warning appears stating the call requires at least 3 participants from the 3 different EU member states or associated countries. And we have replied, while submitting the project proposal, you may encounter a warning related to the number of participants of the project. Please ignore the warning and continue with the submission. My colleague Dora later will give a presentation with more details on this kind of aspects, but I would just say that, as we mentioned also in the Form B, just ignore it and continue. This has to do with the system. Fourth question, will hosting an AI antenna prevent a participating state from being eligible to be part of AI factory consortia in future? Our answer, an application to have an AI factory antenna would prevent the participating state from applying to be part of the AI factory antenna. Is there anything more my colleagues would like to comment on this?
Yes, if there's since there are 2 calls more or less synchronized on AI factory and AI antenna, we would not oppose that countries would like to bid for both. But at some stage, they will need to signal which is the preferred solution, just to be very clear. So at this stage, they cannot have both, but I think they can bid at the same time for both. I think there's a couple of countries that are considering this. Javier, this is correct? Okay, but they will not get a factory and an antenna, just to be very clear. Okay.
So make sure that you clarify in your application which one is the preferred one. Okay. Fifth question is, what is the timeline of grant agreement signature? The estimated signature of AI factory antenna grant agreement is October 2025. And then part 3 questions. Can participating state put forward, endorse multiple proposals for an antenna? The eligibility criteria state that the call is open to a single entity or a consortium of entities from 1 EuroHPC participating state. This is our answer. Is there an envisaged percentage of the whole budget that an AI factory antenna can spend on small-scale computing resources? What model will be allowed to be used? Buying equipment, renting, depreciation? Our answer is the hardware will be claimed as equipment. All costs will be covered by the grant. There is no percentage set, but the amount should be reasonable. For example, 10-20% to buy the small scale computing. We're not talking about buying from AI Factory. We're talking about your own small scale system here to allow the rest of the envisioned antenna activities to be implemented. The acquisition costs, the acquisition should be done following national public procurement laws. The process will be checked as part of the project monitoring. I would like to ask my colleagues from Commission if there is any further comments on the small scale system.
I would like to emphasize that the main objective of this call is, of course, to develop AI-oriented, AI factory-oriented services. That being said, we included this possibility to include a very small amount of compute in views to potentially offload the computing resources in the established AI factory for these minor AI jobs. But that's not the main objective. It should be very well justified and for a reasonable, commensurate, a small amount of compute. That was the only remark I would like to make at this point.
Just I want to clarify, there are two possibilities in the call. One is to, as we said, you are eligible, as Juan mentioned, for a very, very, very small amount from your national 50% to buy from AI Factory compute resources. The second possibility, you can buy a hardware yourself, procure a hardware yourself for your country as a small system. And for this small system, there is no limitation how much money, but as Javier said, the idea is not to, this call is not for procuring systems. This call is for providing support. So consider that, and something like 10-20% can be an indicative sum for buying a small national system for the AI Factory antenna. Okay. The third question, a consortium from a member state is planning to join an existing AI Factory as an antenna, and I wonder if you could help us with a question about the memorandum of understanding. Does it have to be signed between the countries, between the leading partners of the consortia, or between every partner of the respective consortia? At this stage, the memorandum of understanding shall be signed in this is our answer. At this stage, the memorandum of understanding shall be signed in a form of a letter of intent. The annex-like letter of intent to be attached. It shall be signed by the leader of antenna consortium on behalf of such consortium and the hosting entity of an existing AI Factory on behalf of an AI Factory hosting consortium. This is again the summary of our answers. More you can find in the PDF of questions and answers on our website. The first question, and I think this is my last question, is the participating state required to provide some, all, or all of the non-EU matching funding contribution, or is it possible that this could be provided by the entity of like applicant organization? Participating states should provide a commitment letter confirming that they commit on behalf of the national funding bodies or other to contribute to their share of the project. The actual payment will come from whoever is designated but by the participating state to pay it. And with that, I think I would like to thank you. And for more information, you can always go to our website, to the call, and especially for your answers, for your questions, you can find in the PDF on our website more elaborative questions. And with that, I will pass the word to Dora. And after Dora, we will open the floor. I see already raised hands. We'll open the floor for your questions, and we all will try to answer this. So Dora, please, yeah, take the floor.
Hello. I try to share my presentation. Okay. So you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. So hello, my name is Dora Márton, and I am a program officer at the EuroHPC-GU here. And I will shortly speak about the application peculiarities, what are the distinctive features of the application process, and highlight some information which is practical to know, but not explicit in the core. So first I will start with explaining why this call has standout features, or why it differs from a Horizon Europe research and innovation action, because it encompasses also other kind of programs and other funding instruments from other actions. So it's the purpose, as you could see from the presentation of Lily, is to deploy digital technologies and build strategic digital capacities. It encompasses coordination and networking activities. It is co-funded by participating states. It might have a procurement element, only if it's listed in advance. I will speak about it later. It's strongly linked to the AI Factories initiative, and it has a relatively short timelines compared to other calls. So all this leads to certain distinctive characteristics of the call. First, the strong link to AI Factories being...
Lilith, sorry to interrupt, but apparently some colleagues cannot see the slides.
Cannot?
We see the slides, so it might be a local problem.
I see that someone in the chat says that they see the slides. Should I stop or can I continue? And maybe the webinar will be registered, so you can see the slides later on, and it will be shared on our website, on the EuroHPCG website. Yeah.
It is muted. Can you try to share again? See.
Should I share again, maybe?
Can you reshare, please? Yes.
Okay. I close it. Stop presenting, and I will reshare again. Teams is not the favorite tool for many.
I see them, but let's hope others see. And if not, as Dora said, it's recording, so you can see. Okay, some people see.
Yeah,
already.
okay. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know that you cannot see the slides. So I continue. One of these aspects that you have to pay attention to is that there is a parallel evaluation of the third cutoff of the AI Factories call. The evaluation runs in parallel, so it might have an effect on your eligibility if you are coming from a member state, an EU member state. And also, to reply to one of the questions in the chat, who you can check this and who you can contact is your national funding authority. Our governing board members are representing them, and you can find their list, the list of the governing board members on the EuroHPCG website. Another specificity of this call is that the call is, as Lilith already mentioned, is published on both the EuroHPC website and on the funding and tender portal of the European Commission. And the calls, they are interlinked, so there are links in each other to the other site. And the call itself and the question and answers are mainly published on the EuroHPCG website, and it is maintained there. However, to submit your project, you have to go through the EU funding and tenders portal. It is important. I will tell you later here about the application process. So if you join from the EU funding and tender portal, First, you have two parts of the application. Part A are the online forms you have to fill out directly on the portal, and part B are the annexes. And there are also forms which you have to upload together with your application. So as Lilith has already mentioned, when you fill out the part A or the online forms, you might get warnings regarding the minimum number of the participants. This is a yellow warning. You can submit the proposal. This is because we ask the Commission to relax the rules for each awarded project later on. So your proposal will be admitted even though you have this warning. Also, the ethics, there is an ethics form in the part A of the application. In case you say yes to any of the ethics issue, it prolongs the signature time, because in case there is an ethics issue during the evaluation, we have to contact and contract ethics experts. They have to evaluate the proposal. So around 2 months, it will postpone the signature of your grant by 2 months around. Also, it's very important to mention here that in the part A of the application, you have the list of, you have to list your eventual equipment purchase. It is under the participants form there. So we can accept procurement of any type of equipment only if you list it in the part A of your application. Then now about the uploadable forms, the part B, the technical description and the annexes. So they differ from the usual Horizon template. At the submission stage, you already have to submit, or you can only submit via the portal, the commitment letter, the letter from the participating state, the letter of intent of the selected AI factory, and the implementation details, which is just complementing the part B technical description. It's also important, part B, you have 70 pages to explain your proposal. If it's more than that, we won't see it. The evaluators won't see it. So this is why we introduced the implementation details annexes. It is really important to download the annexes from the submission service, because the one uploaded on the EuroHPCGU site and on the portal itself, funding and tender portal, they are for information only. Also, it's important for the applicants who might want to involve several stakeholders, that you can upload only one annex, so one letter of intent and one commitment letter. In case you have several stakeholders, please combine their letter of intents or commitment letters in one document and upload that one. Another practical consideration, you can submit your proposal in advance. You can change it anytime. I tried it. So it's better to submit earlier and to avoid last-minute technical issues. Your proposal, always the last version of your proposal will be considered during the evaluation. Okay, the timelines already Lilith has mentioned it, but I just go through it fast. The deadline of the submission is July 9th at 5 o'clock. The evaluation will happen between July and mid-September. Then this is also a speculative call that we have the governing board will vote on the evaluation results, and you will receive via the system after it has been decided, you will receive an official invitation letter to submit further documents for the grant agreement process around end of September, beginning of October. So the grant agreement process for the first-time applicants encompasses also what we mentioned, the legal entity validation and the declaration, and for everyone, the declaration of honor signatures. So these documents you will have to provide only in case your proposal has been selected for funding. And the takeaway is that access to AI factories for users does not depend on the adherence of their country of residence to an AI factory or an AI factory antenna. The EuroHPC quota can be used by any eligible entity registered in countries associated to Horizon Europe, Digital Europe, or Horizon 2022 programs. And by this, I finish my presentation. Thank you. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much, Dora. And thank you for your presentation. Just to confirm that in type B form, there are also indications per sector, how many pages. This you can successfully ignore because these are inherited from the Horizon Europe standard form. So just keep in mind that the total number should be 70. The rest is up to you how many pages you do per sector. Okay, and with that, I would like to open the floor. We will try to read also the questions in the chat if there are many, but if there are any, but for now we open the floor, and please raise your hands so that we give you the floor. And the first hand I see from Marcus. Marcus, would you like?
Yeah, so thank you. I have just 2 minutes time because I have to leave then. But my question is, I've written it also down and also written already to the info portal, but it's better to speak. It was mentioned that the collaboration between antenna and AI factory should be mainly on an infrastructure hardware basis. So basically that the antenna can use hardware to do computations. The question is which part of the AI factory supercomputer should be used for that? Is it the national part or is it the EU part of the supercomputer? Because the national part, from my perspective, cannot be used by entities not from our country, for example, since it is paid by the national governments. So which portion of the supercomputer will be used and how will the time be allocated?
Juan, would you like to?
So you can use both approaches, but the idea, since you are liaising with the AI factory, is that you use the national part, and that's why you have to reach an agreement with them bilaterally on the terms and conditions, and if necessary, the small amount of money in cash or in kind you will contribute to that part. So that's the idea, and that's the idea of linking the antenna to the AI factory. A very small portion of the national part is enabled for you for specific jobs, specific times, specific requirements. That's the idea, because you always have the access to the JU part or the EU part, regardless.
Okay.
So
okay.
This is what you need to discuss with the factory itself.
Okay. So okay, good. So but basically, from our side, you would need some kind of money flow from the antenna.
At this stage,
and,
just to be very clear, at this stage, what we only wish is that there's some sort of commitment from both sides on how you're going to collaborate. This can be spelled out at a later stage, etc., etc. What just to be reassured that you have spoken with their factory, that they agree to enable very small part of whatever that is needed, or under the conditions you discuss with them, on the access to the national part of the compute, and how this
Okay.
can be enabled. That's it. Later on, throughout the years, because ex ante is very difficult to know how much time you're going to require, I would claim. So the idea is that you just establish a framework agreement with them.
Mhm.
This is going to be discussed, further developed as we go through the project. But the commitment from both parties should be there in the proposal.
Okay, thank you.
And to add to it, as the call text states, the budgetary commitment should be clarified in the proposal.
Okay, thank you.
And also, just from my side to clarify, Juan mentioned that access is also available from our access time for the EU access time. Yes, through our access codes.
Exactly.
It's
Yes.
not that we're going to have
Exactly.
any agreements with antennas that, yes, you will get free access and without application, without peer review, without. No, it is
Okay.
available, of course, with the conditions of the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Clear. Good. So bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye. Maurice, next hand is yours.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much, firstly, also for organizing this webinar. I think that helps a lot. I had several questions already in the governing board, which we had no time to discuss. I have a couple of questions. I think one of the most interesting is probably part B. When we open it from the downloaded template, it starts basically with targeted key industrial sectors. When you have the eligibility conditions, there's a whole section on goals, roadmap, objectives missing, basically in the template, right? So I'm talking about section 1 in the eligibility, which is when you go into the website, it's correct on the funding tender portal. It's a whole thing about concept of the AI factory antenna, right? So it's A, vision, B, roadmap, etc.
Yeah.
This is all missing from the template when we download it. Is that something where we should add it now, I assume? Or should we completely rely on other sections?
No, that should be in the template. I will check. Please go ahead with the second question while I'll check.
Okay, sure. So the second question would be basically the idea with the integration of the host factory. I mean, it's no secret Iceland will integrate with Lumi. The question is to which extent we should do this as a separate project or not. In other words, they operate as work packages, so we should mirror these work packages in a way. Should we participate in steering groups in this AI factory? Or basically, how would be the modus operandi, especially if you now see that maybe our factory antenna will run 6 months longer than them? We were planning for just 2.5 years because they started 6 months ago from October. So could you maybe elaborate a little bit for us to which extent we should integrate with them? I mean, I saw it as much as close as possible as almost joining them, right?
So then I will again ask our colleagues from Connect to clarify this.
Maurice, the idea is you have to focus on developing the AI antenna services in Iceland. The way you interact with Lumi, we will not look into it. You decide. There's no specific or best approach. You will need to determine for my AI ecosystem, the best way to approach, to target them, to serve them is A, B, and C. That's it. If you want to have a thorough engagement with Lumi for the core activities of the factories, fine. But what is fundamental is that in this context, your services to be provided to your local community, to your regional ecosystem, to enhance your is also served, well targeted, so that has to be the key element. The key element is your national, regional ecosystem. The way you interact with Lumi is up to you to decide, to determine. That's it. We will not look into that thoroughly. This is up to you to decide. Okay.
That's sort of a follow-on question also. Will the evaluators then have access basically to the, how I should say, the expression of interest from this or the proposals? Because if you refer to Lumi, let's say, one specific terms and so on, they do, and we want to join their efforts in that to operate smoothly. Will the evaluators know the expression of interest, let's say, from LIF and Lumi, or do we have to explain all of that again?
No.
I understand if you can't answer this question, but it's it's a more practical thing,
You're
right?
getting to the nitty-gritty. This is just an antenna, Maurice. Okay. The core activity is on your, as I said, on your local, national activities. If you want also to contribute to that, that should all. This is up to you to decide. The evaluators probably they will be the same as the ones that we have used for the factories. Probably, I would not be surprised if they change too much. They know the issues and they will have access to the information of the LUMI AI factory for the sake of discussion. They will know more or less what are the services that have been provided, the partnership. This is public, so of course they will need to see and assess how this fits with the ongoing activities of LUMI. But the core is rather your activities. Okay.
Okay.
May I
thank
just
you.
add a little bit of a variation of Morris's question? Will the evaluators look into this annex, so the letter of intent and its annexes? Is that a criteria? How detailed the kind of alignment between the AI factory and the antenna will be? Have I explained that?
Fine. The evaluators will look to see that there's at least some sort of commitment from both sides.
Okay.
If there is, if they believe it's not strong enough or not supportive enough, they will signal this to you. It's an admin element, so you will not be penalized. Just to be very clear. Then they will require, dear, please. Can you please fine tune or tweak a bit the commitment letter, or maybe at grant stage, we would like further evidence or support in that context. They will need just some proof of evidence of that this will materialize. What we want to prevent is that suddenly you go for an antenna, we award it to you, and suddenly the links with the factory are not there reassured. That's basically the element. And then we have a problem. That's basically the idea of why we want this commitment supporting documentation.
So if it's a yes or no, then it's
a yes
clear.
or no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to clarify your first question, Maurice. The first point says concept of AI factory antenna, and there you can add this summary about vision and aim. But then what is important is to then detail it in each subcategory, like the targeted K industrial sectors applications and so on. So you can add a paragraph under the concept of AI factory antenna, just specifying the aim and vision, but then more details need to be given in the subsectors. Subsections.
So you mean we should, from the core, integrate these bullets basically that we're missing in the template? Okay.
Yeah, well, you're not missing. It's not bullets. It's more overview of your vision and aim. But the most important are to address the sub sections.
Okay. No, I think I understand. There was some discussion often with other antennas we collaborate with regarding applications, and then we heard about AI factories are, let's say, also supposed to specialize. So we're getting to the question of too much extent. We should cover a lot of applications which are on the national priorities, obviously, from the antenna, or to which extent, is 10 too much, is 5 too much, and how it should align with the AI factories in general. So needs to be there high overlap, or can we be very complementary? Can you maybe elaborate a bit more on this applications that we should cover, or the industrial sectors?
So you are established to serve your own nation. So you need to look at your national needs, national industries, national applications on the first as a priority. And then in your collaboration, you look into the antenna, what you have in common or what you think can be in future important for your country also to learn from. And that's my take, but I give the floor to Juan to.
Maurice, given the amount of money at stake, I think you need to focus on a rather more limited number of applications compared to those of an AI factory. Okay, what are your priorities? Which one you really want to well serve? Full stop. If by coincidence or whatever, you can then also address other domains, fine. But I would prefer that your key applications, key industries are well served. That's the purpose of the antenna. And the other applications may be served also or by the factory that you associate it to, or by when we establish the networking of the AI factories and antennas, there will be an overall umbrella that can also be served by, that will facilitate also the provision of services and support to specific domains that are not initially covered by your antenna. So let's to be focused. The amount of money is what it is. So I prefer let's hit hard those key areas that you wish to really support, and the rest maybe they can be served at a later stage or throughout the other factories. Okay.
All right, understood. Thank you. Then another, let's say, question that is coming to the small scale system. So I was asking this already, I think, but to you, but I mean, basically, I think we didn't get the final answer because we're an EEA country. So I'm talking about this small scale, which is under other direct cost, as I understand, as equipment fund, right? It's not share of Iceland to Lumi, nothing else. It's just this small scale AI. So we are prevented to do an AI factory having no hardware, was the idea. As EA country, would that be applying also to the small scale AI system, or as it is other direct costs and equipment, we can have, let's say, it's 3 GPUs still in Iceland, being an EEA country. That's a now important point.
So small scale is optional. So if you want to, you can apply to buy it. It doesn't influence, you are not going to disqualify it for that.
All right, yeah, so that's really good to know because it's also hardware, you know. Then the other point, and I'm sorry for taking away the time for the others, there's just the idea of this national players, right? This new, hopefully we bring to the EuroHPC, JU, right? New players. But let's say some of them come from the A domain and have not much experience in EU projects before, right? So the point is, let's say if the coordinator has not much experience, can others then support, let's say, the implementation of the project with project experience and so on? So how do you, let's say, judge the point of having people in the consortium organizations that have been not previously engaged in EU projects, and how much is that for coordination and so on? Because usually there's this coordination needs experience, you know, in this, but with new players on the national roadmaps, this is not so easy to do.
Well, Maurice, that's, I think, a more internal question for you to solve it internally, to exchange your experience with them. I mean, for us, it's a EU project. It needs to be managed properly, and you need to get proper results. You are going to be evaluated and reviewed. So how you organize it internally, how you educate them into handling EU projects is your internal responsibility.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think we have some statements that we support the coordinator then as yeah, and university and so on. One of my final question is just the Synod declaration, right? So this is not in the portal to upload right now, right? If we are, let's say, the consortium, there's a letter for the factory, there's a letter from the ministry, but the signed declaration, where we do upload that?
Dora, I'll give you the floor for that.
The signed declaration between the consortium members, you mean?
Yes, yeah.
This is in Horizon grants, the funding authorities, we don't require this. You have to have it, or it's suggested or advised to have it, but we don't have to see it. It's not our business to deal with. Yeah, it's between the parties. Yeah.
All right, good. Then maybe the details on the letter to this, you know, delegation of co-funding, right? So this is where we say the government doesn't have the let's say the money itself, but will delegate this to other governmental institutions. When we craft this letter, are we there on our own, or should we check, let's say, for instance, with Stephanie or so, that this is, let's say, legally okay and so on? And should it specify basically the amount of money? The template that is there now, focusing on the participant state, but how do we proceed with the one? So we change the template and we'll modify this in terms of these are our, let's say, 6 governmental institutions that take care of the matching funds on behalf of the government and should outline the amount of money and then signed by the ministry still, or should it also be signed by all the organizations?
For that, I give the floor to Stephanie. Stephanie, would you like to comment?
Yes. So, yeah, from scratch. So the counterpart is the participating state. We would need to have the commitment from the participating state. If as supporting document, these kind of delegations you have, you could provide as well, that would be helpful. But the important part for us is to have the commitment of the member state, of the participating state, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
So
I give the floor to others in the meantime,
okay,
please.
thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I see the hand of Venkatesh. Venkatesh, do you want to ask? And then after Venkatesh, I will read the chat questions.
Sure, I'll keep it quick. I have 4 short questions. The first one is regarding one of the 4 focus areas on talent. Is that referring to actually supporting talent development in the ecosystem and skills development, or is it, or does it focus on actually the talent available within the consortium to deliver the antenna?
Juan?
Both.
Both. That's good to know. Thank you. The second one was with respect to the algorithmic support. So again, is it for the antenna to demonstrate that we balance the efforts that we spend between infrastructure access, the talent development, the algorithmic support? Because the algorithmic support, does it mean co-development with the users and not developing everything from within the antenna? Is that a correct interpretation? That we have to balance the support we provide for the users of the antenna to develop the algorithms themselves.
Juan.
The idea is that you enable and that within you have the knowledge, expertise within the antenna to support the development of algorithms for those users that need support from your side. That's the idea behind it. You
right,
determine.
But we wouldn't necessarily invest our significant efforts in the algorithm development. We would have knowledge and some efforts to support the development from
you
outside.
You should have the knowledge in-house. Yeah. And secondly, you need to provide those support to the users, both sides.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's up to you to decide how much effort you want to put to dedicate to each activity. But the idea is that a user goes to your antenna, and when needed and when requested, some sort of support can be enabled and provided.
Thank you. Then 2 more short questions. There was one significant section in 2 on facilitating accessibility to different data assets and data resources. So in a way, the antenna itself can bring access to some of the data sets, but by and large, it would come from third-party providers. So is that acceptable that the antenna does not have all the capability to bring data in here?
The idea is that to a certain extent, data is fundamental now to develop AI solutions, AI activities, LLMs, blah, blah, blah. The idea is that you identify already ex ante, which should be linked to your priorities, which data sets you can already identify. Okay, so that to a certain extent, you can facilitate the work of potential users. Okay, you can guide them to them. And then maybe, if possible, if you can go a bit beyond that, that would be excellent. You cannot host, of course, all the data sets at your antenna, but maybe temporarily this can be enabled. Data facilities could be enabled. You can help them in finding the data, cleaning data, all the activities related to data can be, to a certain extent, enabled and facilitated through the antenna. Again, you're an antenna, you're not a factory, so we should be commensurate to what the requirements and to the budget that's going to be enabled. But the data aspects should be clearly identified, worked on, worked about, done your homework, etc. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The last one was
sorry, just to complement on data. It's very important that you link correctly your proposal to your national data strategy. See what is there, and make sure that that is well served by your Europe.
That's helpful. Thank you. Yes.
And also to add, make sure that the policies allow. I mean, it's not the idea that you list you have nationally this data, but then policies do not allow you to access this. So you need to make sure that policies are in sync with your purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. And then the last one was now in different parts of the template, the emphasis between the focus clearly is on SME and startup. That was very evident. But then in some places, there is a mention of the broader industry and research support as well. So are we to understand that the primary focus is on SMEs, startups, but then we can also accommodate requirements from public sector and focused research there? Is that the right understanding?
That's correct.
Okay. The last one is, again, the letters of support from our AI ecosystem to demonstrate and validate what we are presenting. Can that be attached as a separate attachment? Do you see that's going to be useful for the evaluation?
No, this is for Lilith. Not
So,
really.
so the 7 points I listed, these are the most important. The rest is additional. If you want to include, but then mind the page limits and everything.
The reason why I asked was in section 1, there is a scope to justify why we are targeting the ecosystem the way we do, but there is no proof sought for that. So that was the reason why I asked if letters of support from the ecosystem were useful.
No, not really. If you justify, we believe you.
We trust you.
Thank you.
To a certain extent, the evaluators will probably go and check whether what you have signal highlighted, they will Google it and say, indeed, it seems accurate, it seems appropriate, it's well aligned, it's well described. That will be more enough. Huh?
Thank you.
Thank you. We will get back to the hands again, but first I would like to go through the questions posed in the chat. Sorry. So there are more. Marcus has already left and we answered that. There is a question from you, Venkatesh. I think that's you asked already as well. And then there is a question from James. What's the correct mechanism and format for the letter of support from government? I think Stephanie already answered. Stephanie, you want to?
No, not yet, but I can quickly do that. So there is no specific mechanism, or let's say the mechanism is rather the one at national level you need to see. So what you could do, so on the funding and tender portal and also on our website, you will find a model letter for that, which you could use as a template. And then it's to see at national level who is the responsible governmental authority to sign that letter. In case there is any doubts, or if you want to see how that is orchestrated, you could contact the respective governing board member of the country to get some support or advice to whom to address it, if that would be needed.
Okay, thank you. James, do you want further clarification, or that's okay? No sound.
Yeah, okay. And we published this link to the governing board. You find that also on our website, and we published it also in the question and answers, so that it's not like fishing for the governing board member. Yeah, you find it there.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And the second question: what is the quantitative definition of small scale for the compute equipment to buy? So, any indication, Juan, for this small scale hardware to buy?
There is no quantitative prescription, I would say. Some indication has been given in the order of magnitude of the budget in the Q&A. It needs to be a small scale. It needs to be commensurate. It cannot be of the order of magnitude of the compute of the established AI factory. It should be way below that. The idea here is to complement, in very justified cases, what is already provided by the established factory, and not to build a secondary supercomputer. Not at all. That's not the spirit of this call.
So we will justify it very small for some inference in a bit. These type of things, very small, and that's the idea, and it has to be justified. Okay, we're not against it, but yeah, the limits is you to develop. But if it goes beyond, then it's not an antenna. It's maybe a factory. So just to be very clear.
Okay, thank you very much. And as Javier said, we have an indication like 10-20%, but just as Juan said, it should be justified. And the next question, there is a question from Stefan. The implementation details tables need to be added as an annex. So yeah, okay, that was answered. A question from Frederick: can the in-kind contribution up to 5 million be provided by numerous parties of a given national ecosystem, even if the application is made by only one organization? So then this should be third parties, and maybe Stephanie, you can answer this. So the in-kind contribution is for third
Yeah.
parties to provide.
Exactly, yes, that can be. So we have that. Also, I would refer just for the conditions to the question and answer already published, because there were some constraints in it, but it can be done by third parties, so that is also included. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then the second question, does the Euro HPC contribution up to 5 million is provided directly to the organization submitting the call or to a government entity of the participating state? It is to the call submitter, so to the coordinator of the consortium or to the single entity that submits the call, the organization of that entity, submitting entity, not to the government.
Thank you.
Then there is a question from Anna to Juan. Juan, you mentioned earlier that if a factory we collaborate with is not running for the full 3 years from the start of our project, then we should budget for less than 5 million euros. If our timeline looks like 2.5 years, what kind of adjustments should we make to the budget?
It should be the other way around. It should be you to demonstrate that the budget that you're asking for is commensurate to the 2.5 years that you are trying to establish your antenna. But okay, so there's no, as I said, there's no correct or wrong answer. Everything has to be justified. Okay. And then that's why we get the evaluators, and they will say, and they say this over-resourced, and maybe at a later stage this can be, the budget will be cut. But to be frank, we will not accept 5 million for tasks that we expect to be undertaken in 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There is a question about DOS, and Stephanie, this is a question to you. Should this be provided with the application or after?
It should be provided with, but it's also probably to DORA, because I assume that it's already in the funding and tender portal, so that you have the declaration on honor. I just quickly checked in parallel. We can also upload it on our website so that you can use that model. Yeah.
I have replied this question in the chat.
Okay.
It does not differ, the process here does not differ from other projects. So in case you are awarded during the grant agreement procedure, you will sign the declaration of honor later on via the portal. So it's not different.
So we
have to submit it in advance. During the submission stage, you have to submit the plan B, the technical description, and the 3 specific annexes. One is the letter of intent from the AI factories you are collaborating. One is the supporting letter from the participating state who is supporting you and complementing our funding. And the third is the is to complete the Part B proposal. So you can write you can write 70 pages in Part B proposal, and the detail of the deliverables work packages is incorporated in the implementation details annexes.
Okay.
And
Thank you, Dora.
the submit and the submission.
Thank you, Dora. So Lilith, can you just update the presentation? So actually we don't need docs and we don't need consortium agreement, if I understand correctly.
The presentation is based on the call already published, and in the published call we request the declaration of honor duly signed. So I think we need internally to look at this question properly and then come back to you again on this. We will publish this as a question and answer in the portal, and you will see there what we describe. So it's not like I came up with this, but it is in the call description. And we clarify this in question answer, and you will see the template on our web page accordingly, if that's okay for you. Okay, thank you. So there is another question from Ingolfur. I hope I pronounced correctly. Does Part B require a MS plan and a setup of Gantt chart for related tasks and work packages? What do you mean by MS?
Define the milestones.
Milestones, okay. As indicated in my, and also in the part B, also indicated that you would need to really clearly define both KPIs, wishfully, milestones, and Gantt and work packages, because this is the only way we can follow your progress, and this then will be replicated in your grant agreement.
All right, thank you.
Where are the requirements for the network link for the AIF defined, including security aspects, etc.? Can you please clarify a bit more your question?
The network link, the bandwidth, the type of encryption, the technical requirements, cybersecurity requirements. So is it related to the factory itself, like LUMI, or is this something EU regulation and an amendment we have to align with?
I don't think we require it. And in which part have you seen it requiring?
The problem is I haven't seen it.
Yeah, but AI Factory antenna is about services. It's not about what kind of procurement you are going to do. And AI Factory already has its system, and they are satisfying the needed security aspects and so on. I'm not sure I really understand the question.
All right, then I will connect with LUMI regarding this. This fine.
Okay, thank you. Then there is another question. Question 2. It gives the impression that the calls text isn't particularly focused on sustainability. Do you expect to see a specific task in the project addressing this, or could it be included in the part with a few tasks? So I assume it is about sustainability of the antenna afterwards. Juan, do we have any requirements for sustainability there?
No.
Okay, so there is nothing to be included and there is no requirement for this.
We will welcome it.
Yeah. Then the question 3 is, can we directly involve SMEs as partners? And if so, how can we achieve this? They must provide a letter of intent stating that the government will financially support them. I will ask our commission colleagues, but before that, I just want to say that your third parties can be whoever you define that are going to enhance the antenna with the know-how and providing the services. So it depends what kind of SME. If you mean an SME for whom you are going to provide services, then obviously not. It's not. The SME needs to contribute to the services and to the whole concept of antenna. But I open the floor for Juan.
Nothing to add. That's clear.
Okay, thank you. Q4, could you please confirm that we do not need to submit a consortium agreement at the proposal step? I think we touched base already in that question, and
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably, as we said, no, the consortium agreement as such is not our concern. So whatever you do at your consortium level is for you. And what we want to see is the letter of intent, so to see how you cooperate with the antenna, with the AI Factory, sorry.
However, in the call, we require a consortium agreement where you mandate a person to be the coordinator.
Yes,
that's the difference.
exactly. Yes, but we don't need to see the agreement. No, that is what Dora explained already.
Yeah. The last question, are all members of the proposed consortium required to be confirmed in the submission, or can new consortium members join at a later stage? Stephanie, consortium members.
Oh, they can also join at a later stage. It's different than the AI Factories, yeah? So it's not to compare, because the AI Factories is a different concept under the rules of the financial regulation. Here, in that case, you're open to onboard also later on.
Okay. Okay, then the questions in the chat are for now finished. There are more coming, but I will come back to Maurice because you had the hand quite a while up.
Yeah, thank you, Lilith. Sorry to bother you again. Just a couple of more important things, perhaps also raised with others I know from Cyprus and so on. There's this sections where we have to provide links to national documents and also provide, let's say, executive summary, right? So goals of them for national priorities. In terms of Iceland, if you link them, they're all Icelandic. There's no translation to English. If you use Google Translate, it will fail because Google Translate cannot use Icelandic, especially in technical terms and important terms. To which degree, I mean, should we provide, let's say, translated documents that at least are validated from us and make it downloadable? Or to which extent we can trust, or you can trust us that the national documents are there, and at a later stage we can maybe provide a, let's say, proper version in English that is also agreed by the ministry. In the timeline, we cannot provide, I think, ministry-approved English versions of this national data priorities or national AI priorities.
Stephanie, would you like to comment on that?
I fear I did not get the question correctly. So you want to provide some necessary documents for, but which documents we are talking about?
Let's assume we have a national AI roadmap or strategic document on that. It's in Icelandic, right? So that means when we link it, the reviewers may want to look it, but I doubt that they maybe know Icelandic. So they will use Google Translate, and this will fail.
Yes.
Because usually Google Translate is not good in low resource languages like Iceland and others.
Yes.
So and we provide an executive summary, let's say 1 page anyway in part B about it in English, of course. But let's say the original documents will be somewhere downloadable in Icelandic, right? So we have not a chance to do that in English just before the deadline. It's too short of a notice. So to which extent there's trust that the reviewers see, okay, this is there, and not use Google Translate.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we have it in other contexts now as well, the discussions, how far can we trust on machine translations, which makes life sometimes not easy. And also as it is a criterion, if I remember correctly, I think we need to discuss that. Probably you allow us to clarify that internally, to which extent we could accept something like that, and then come back with a question and answer as well, replying to that, because it's not easily said, no? It's not that I can say, yeah, machine translation is fine for us, because if it's a criterion which has to be assessed, then of course also the evaluators needs to be able to read it.
Yeah, and this is of course not only the national AI strategy. There's a national language technology program, LLMs, NLPs. There's national data strategy, and all of that is of course Icelandic, right? Yes. And it's not to be translated with Google Translate or so. But yeah, this was one question. Maybe one more deeper to the proposal. If I'm not mistaken, I don't see anything about key personnel. I don't know if you can maybe just correct me if I'm wrong, but Lumi, we had the key people involved in the AI Factory. In the antenna, I don't see anything about key persons involved. So
you should not compare the two applications. These are different. So what we ask in AI Factory antenna, that is required. And if it's not asked, then you don't need to list. If you want to, you're welcome to list. But at this point in time, you need to follow the template. Okay. And for the previous question, Maurice, the evaluations done by experts. So you will have to convince experts that you are in line with your national strategies. So it's in principle up to you to decide how you do that. But the connection should be very clear to evaluators. We cannot have any influence on that.
Yeah, sure. It's just that the original documents, of course, will be in Icelandic. We will address this properly, I think. Okay. Then my final point is just a little bit maybe going back to this nice sustainability discussion, where I think we are now a bit puzzled that we suddenly have to do 3 years instead of aligning us with the factory. I think we discussed this previously at the summit and so on. That we should align completely to the AI factories. Now, when we say we do the full 3 years and be longer than the timeline of the AI factories, we should really state something like we expect that, let's say, the Lumi consortium will continue with the AI factory, even if they originally stop, after their 3 years.
So the AI systems of AI factories are procured with 5 years lifetime. The main point of your collaboration with factories is in principle access to these systems. And our calls are going to be open for access during the 5 years of the system. So in principle, that has nothing to do with sustainability. You need to make sure that you have enough budget to provide 3 years of services. And then access you can always use through the EuroHPC calls to the AI factory systems as usual. And then if you come to other agreements related to the national budget, very, very, very small portion of buying, that's between you and them to agree on.
Yeah, no, it's just because we have so much with interlinking with the factories and other AI factories that how that should be in the last remaining months when they're not there.
The system is there.
The system is there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That's all from my side. Thanks again for the webinar.
Okay, thank you. There is one more question. For the equipment, the budgeted value should bring full price of procurement or depreciation. Bodo, I would like to ask you to clarify your question because I'm not sure I understand it.
Yeah, usually in Horizon Europe, there are two models of funding equipment purchases. It's full price of the procurement or depreciation model during the lifetime of the project. I think in the call there are two options, but I just want to clarify if the full price is available.
Yes, maybe I can reply to that. So it's if for listed equipment, if you list in advance, it is available at the full price, not only the depreciation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions. Last chance, if you have any further questions, to raise your hand. If not, then we have just one question about the declaration of honor to clarify, which will be clarified in our question and answers document. But other than that, I think we have now covered all your questions, and and we also have the presentation. You have the recording, and we will upload both me and Dora slides on our webpage so you can have access to this. And yeah, and I would like to wish you all success with your applications, and we look forward to 9th of July to receive this. So thank you for your attention, and thanks for our colleagues from Commission for their contribution. Thank you.
Thank you for the webinar. See you. Ciao.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.